Hey, we're live. I'm Rabbi Baruch Halevi, Rabbi B. Welcome to Soul Centered. I'm just going to share this with my Facebook page and then we will get going. So, I am a co founder and executive director of Soul Centered. You can see it behind me, or other way. Soul Centered is a center for loss, for meaning, for healing. We're based in Denver, Colorado, but like everybody else, we are virtual and around the world. We have been since the outset. The coronavirus, obviously, like everyone else, has made it a necessity. I would say it's an opportunity because I think one of the things that we've discovered during this coronavirus is that virtual is really a great opportunity to connect. I work with clients in both grief counseling and also soul coaching, life counseling, helping people through all kinds of transitions, trials, traumas, tragedies. And I love working with folks through either Zoom or just on the phone. I've been doing that for years because I lived in Israel and all my clients at the time were in America. So we've been used to it for a long time now, but the rest of the world is now virtual, and I think it's a great opportunity. So Soul Centered offers counseling. Ariella, my wife, offers counseling around healing, physical, emotional, spiritual. Again, me, around loss and meaning. And then we offer soul-centered experiences like this one. This is what I call the meaning experience. We have the soul experience on Saturday morning. Most everything we do, certainly what I do, is grounded in Kabbalah, Jewish mysticism, but open to everybody. It's my soil, which I grow out of, but I practice lots of isms. I'm a huge proponent of yoga. And so coming from the Hindu tradition, been practicing meditation much more from the Buddhist tradition for almost 25 years now. So really, soul-centered is about centering our soul, and that's a universal principle from all spiritual traditions. So I want to talk today about a new direction I'm headed. I'm calling it outrageous faith. Outrageous faith is under the umbrella of meaning at Soul Centered, again, loss of meaning and healing. And it's, I think, a very important conversation to be having. It's grown out of a realization that the world we live in is oftentimes, I don't know, there's a dichotomy. You have to choose. It's either or. And I see so much bad spirituality, bad religiosity from the religious side, and bad spirituality. Not that you can really separate the two things, but I will separate the two things. Religion being much more of kind of a traditional framework, spiritual being the rejection of the old framework. But so many people I meet say they're spiritual, they're not religious. And what I want to do is bridge these two worlds, because I think one without the other is empty, right? Spirituality without religion becomes narcissistic. It gravitates towards that. Now, I'm not saying you have to join a synagogue or a church or a mosque, or you have to be a part of a formal religion, but religion by definition is a framework, right? Religion comes from the word ligament, connection. And so when we say we're spiritual and not religious, we have to create our own religion, which is fine. I think that can be done. It just takes a tremendous amount of work. Usually what people mean when they say I'm spiritual and not religious is I feel something. I feel spiritual, but I don't do anything. I mean, I'll push over and over, and they'll say, that's dogmatic. That's the Buddhists and meditative practice that I participated in Zen centers are some of the most dogmatic places, because they understand that if you want to truly meditate to get to the deepest or the highest, ascend to the highest levels, you have to have a structure, a framework. Meditation doesn't just happen, right? If you just wait till you want to meditate, either you'll be waiting a very long time, or your meditations won't be deep and profound, because the moment you hit discomfort, you'll just jump right out of it. And so we need a framework. You can create your own framework. Same thing with yoga, right? Yoga requires discipline. It requires a structure. You need your mat, you need your space, you need your practice. So saying I'm spiritual and not religious, oftentimes, not always, is without the vessel. And then it winds up in, I'll tell you more about kind of this narcissistic new agey thing that's happening, and I see happening with my clients. And the other extreme, of course, is a dogmatic, suffocating religion, which I've experienced in my own life, walked away from it, returned to my kind of version of Judaism, and even that was a little stifling for me. So now I do my own thing, soul-centered, but I draw from the framework and other frameworks. So what I want to talk about is the consequence of being stifled in either of those, or turning to either of those extremes and feeling suffocated. And I've seen it a lot since the coronavirus started. I've seen it with people I'm counseling around feelings of what I'm going to call the dark feelings. There's no really such thing as a dark feeling, but even if I say dark feeling, I think you get a sense of what I'm talking about. The dark feelings being anger, resentment, anxiety, depression, rage, fear. And if you hang out in New Age circles, and I've hung out in a lot of New Age circles, tons and tons, and they're not all the same. There's no one thing. But in my experience, they tend towards whitewashing the dark feelings, the dark emotions, the dark experiences. I've been told many times I'm being negative, right? By dealing with the darkness, by dealing with the dark emotions, that I'm bringing down the energy level of other people whom I'm with if I'm in a place of darkness. And by the way, I'm not just talking about day to day kind of wearing people down, being, Debbie Downer. Remember that from Saturday Night Live? I'm talking about profound darkness. Like after my father killed himself, if a loved one kills themselves by suicide, then I would say at any point in life we're allowed and we should feel darkness. But if we're not allowed to feel darkness after the death of a loved one in general, suicide of a loved one in particular, when the hell else are we going to be able to feel darkness? So at my father's funeral, I got up and gave a pretty anger-filled eulogy because I was upset. I was angry. I was raging. And I talked to the people I counsel. I counsel a lot of people who have lost loved ones by suicide. If you loved them, right? If you passionately love them, then on the other side of that love is anger, right? It's not apathy. When somebody kills themselves, nobody's apathetic. There's all kinds of emotion. One of those emotions can be, at least for me, it was anger. It was rage. And I got up and I shared it in a rage-filled way. And I got a lot of flack. I got a lot of pushback from it, from people who were not happy with my anger, with my rage. I didn't care because it's what I needed to go through. It was my mourning process, my grieving process. But that's the point, is that there's a room, there's a place, there's a space for the dark emotions. I believe in getting to the light and New Age kind of focus and obsession on love and on light, but not bypassing it. There's this idea of spiritual bypassing, going around the darkness, the dark emotions, the real feelings that we're having, and that isn't an authentic way to the light. There's a way to the light. It's through the darkness. I've written an entire book on this, Spark Seekers, about going into the darkness, finding those sparks of light, and you have to work for those sparks. They don't just happen. You have to go into the darkness, find those sparks, fan them into a flame, carry that flame as a fire out into the world, and you can, and you will get back to a place of light. But it's a process, and there's no way around it but through it. I was just counseling somebody, call him Jimmy. Jimmy's dad died by suicide, killed himself recently, and he was feeling like I was 15 years ago, rage-filled. And his clergy person, I won't say what type of clergy, though I've heard from all the different religions and denominations, versions of this, the clergy person said, you need to forgive. You need to send your dad love. You need to get the darkness, the anger out of your heart. And Jimmy did not know what to do with this, understandably, because I wouldn't know what to do with it. What is this, hocus pocus? You just make it go away. You just turn it into love with some love fairy dust. And so what Jimmy and I have been working on is, and this word dawned on me when we were talking about it, outRAGEous, right? Anger, rage, outrageous. Get the rage out in a constructive way, in a harnessed way. Go into it, be honest about it so that we can move through it and onto the other side of rage, which is back to a place of, God willing, someday, equanimity and calm and peace and love. And, when we're talking about this, kind of a light bulb went off for me that if you loved your dad like Jimmy loved his dad, and your dad dies. He leaves you. He abandons you, and you're shattered, not heartbroken. You're shattered, right? And you not only felt love, like we were talking about, like love is a generic term that we just throw around. I love you, bro. I love you, bro. But outrageous love is what he felt for his dad. It was the most important person in his life who not only died, but died by suicide. Jimmy felt abandoned and alone and betrayed. And that outrageous love demanded outrageous anger, outrageous rage, outrageous something on the other side of that love as a counterbalance to hold it. And so Jimmy and I have been working to honor his father by going into outrageous anger. And as we've been working together, I've seen what's happened. Right? He's gone from outrageous love of his dad to outrageous anger, finding his way back. And that's what I'm calling an outrageous faith. Right? It isn't this sweet, simple, simplistic, pietistic faith, right? I believe, amen, amen. It is a faith of what I call a warrior, somebody like Jacob from the Bible, the Hebrew Bible, who has gone through the darkness, right? A dark night of the soul, and he's wrestling with the angel. Remember the story? Jacob is wrestling, battling, and we're not sure if it's a malach, if it's an angel, if it's his brother Esau, if it's his higher self, his other self, his kind of conscience, or if it's God. Maybe it's all of those things. And Jacob is wrestling through the night until the break of day. And he won't let go of this angel, this other. And so finally the angel basically has no choice but to get rid of him by blessing him. He says, no longer shall your name be Yaakov, but Yisro, ki sarita im Elohim v'tuchal. And because you wrestled with God, with angels, with man, with everything in between, and you have not let go. You have prevailed. To me, that's an outrageous faith. Again, it's not, I forgive you, I believe. It's not love and light, love and light. It is an earned faith through the dark night of the soul, through the pain and the brutality of whatever life brings you. And it's about being honest and getting back to a place of true faith. Again, not Hebrew school, Bible school, church Sunday, synagogue Saturday, right? Please turn the page, please rise, please sit, please profess your faith. It is about a shattered heart, pieced back together. Rabbi Menachem Mendel of Katz. There's nothing more whole than a broken heart. It's that kind of faith, piecing your heart back together and having something more whole on the other side of it. That's outrageous faith. And those are the conversations I'm having now with both people I guide individually on Facebook Live and in other online forums. I'm teaching tonight Kabbalah Xperience virtual. You can check it out. Just go to my website under events, mysoulcenter.org events. Jump over to the Kabbalah Xperience. We're going to be talking about the journey of the soul from a Kabbalistic perspective, but really about this journey of being battered and broken and bruised, but never giving up and coming out the other side, born again into the next world and then born back into this world. Yes, Kabbalah, Judaism believes in Gilgul HaNefesh and reincarnation. Tune in tonight. You'll learn more about that. But it's about a real faith and really saying amen. You know, amen, we say it like we just know what it means because we say amen. You say it in English, you say it in Hebrew, it's a Hebrew word. Nobody really thinks about what am I saying when I'm saying amen. You know, when you say amen from a Kabbalistic perspective to somebody's prayer, it could be a formal prayer, it could be just a heartfelt prayer. When you're saying amen, you're actually completing this kind of energetic loop. Amen is the Gematria. The Hebrew, every Hebrew letter has a numerical value. If I'm remembering correctly, the Hebrew value, or the numerical value of the Hebrew word amen is 91. And the Kabbalists teach that that's because 91 is also 9 and 1, 9 plus 1. And there are 10 sphirot, 10 emanations of the divine. This is a whole other conversation, but just stick with me for a second. When you're saying a blessing, you're bringing down divine energy. And you're coming through these 9 sphirot, these 9 emanations of the divine. You're making the divine manifest here in this world when you say a blessing. When I say amen, I'm bringing that final piece of it, that seal of approval, and that's the 1. And 1 plus 9 is 10, and 10 is a number of wholeness in Kabbalah. And so you're creating wholeness, you're creating unity, you're creating a divine loop. So when you say amen, it isn't saying I believe, right? What is amen? It's I am testifying right? There's a from I believe it's from the Talmud was the first time we have a mention of the word amen, and it means something related to kind of a truthfulness, right? That I am acknowledging that there is truth, not that it is true factually what you are saying, but that there is a truth here, a completeness. The Hebrew word truth is emet, aleph mem taf, and it's the first, middle, and last letter of the Hebrew alphabet because truth is expansive, it's solid, and so when I'm saying amen, I am saying I affirm, I acknowledge the truth and the energy that you are putting forth and the intention that you are setting forth. And it's kind of like this energetic push and this boost. And so why are we talking about amen? Because we're talking about getting rid of these old silly ideas of faith, simplistic ideas of faith, new agey ideas of faith, and really returning to an outrageous faith, feeling the dark feelings, the dark emotions. Rage is included in that as a pathway to get back to or to move towards a more complete, a whole heart. A whole heart is a broken heart version of faith. I'm going to be talking a lot about outrageous faith. I'm going to be going back into ancient texts to show examples of men and women who've embodied outrageous faith. You know, oftentimes when we think of the Bible, the Torah, we think of sweet, simple fairy tales. These are like rated R. Some of them are rated X texts. They are deep, they are dark, they are challenging, they are disturbing, and yet they are real, and they're comforting, and they're illuminating. You know, you look at Jacob again in the dark night of the soul. Every person I've worked with counseling who's dealing with addiction knows the Jacob story, knows what it's like to hold on until the break of dawn, to wrestle with your demons until you find a way to make them bless you, right? To find a way to be able to say amen on the other side of that. I love working with people who are battling addiction because they truly embody what spirituality and what religion are all about. And back to the beginning of the conversation, right? Everybody knows who's a recovering addict and has gone to AA meetings knows that that's a religious experience. Why? Because it's a framework, it's a structure, it's repeatable, you can pass it on. What happens inside of it is spiritual, coming full circle. We need both. We need the structure, the framework. But the moment the structure and the framework becomes dogmatic, right, an end and not a means to an end, we lose the spirit. On the other side, especially in the new agey stuff I hear from my clients and I see happening in the world, if we only have the spirit, if we only have the feeling, and we don't have structure, and we don't have discipline, and we don't have a framework, then it becomes, well, love and light and spiritual bypassing, and not doing the real work of going through the darkness. And so my goal for myself and to share with people I guide is to merge those things back into one. And I don't care if it's Christian, if it's Jewish, if it's Buddhist, if it's secular, if it's atheist, I don't care. If I could care less, I would. I could not care less. Soul-centered, my path is about best spiritual practice. I teach what I know, but I'm learning all the time from other isms, other traditions. Interestingly, I really returned to Kabbalah through Buddhism. Another story for another time. So I have a deep appreciation for ancient wisdom traditions because there's a reason they've withstood the test of time. We can't take every word of it and every tradition of it and every idea from it as if it's from Sinai, as if it's from God. The great game of telephone has been happening over thousands of years, but that doesn't invalidate the telephone, doesn't invalidate the operator, the original message. Our job is to go back into it. And that's what outrageous faith is going to be doing, exploring what is authentic, the essence at the heart of these great faith traditions, applying it to our real life, and then really taking back, reclaiming this idea that it's all-encompassing, that it isn't just about the love and light, and it isn't about just kind of doing the framework, the dogma. It's about bringing these two things together so that we can find a renewed sense of faith, especially now, during times of coronavirus, during times of challenge, to be honest about the challenge, the darkness that we're facing, and to move through it as a pathway forward. So stay with me. I'm going to be developing this over time. Outrageous faith. I'm putting together some groups, online groups, if you're interested in joining an online educational / support group as well as doing counseling around outrageous faith. So whatever you're going through, no matter how challenging or dark it might be, keep going. Be honest, be real, keep wrestling, hold on until the break of dawn. You will have this, whatever you're wrestling with, bless you. You will find a blessing. You will demand a blessing. That's what the resilient human spirit does. So hold on, keep going, keep wrestling to the break of day. And until then, I say to you on your journey, right? Amen. I acknowledge it. I affirm it. I see the truth and who you are and what you're doing. Shoot me an email. Reach out to me. You can just Google Rabbi B, get my website, mysoulcenter.org, but it'll take you there. You can shoot an email over at rabbib@rabbib.com. Check out again the Soul Experience on Saturday morning, again grounded in Kabbalah, Jewish mysticism, open to everybody. The Meaning Experience, Ariel has got the Healing Experience on Monday nights, and we're going to be rolling out a lot more programs and initiatives in the days to come. So with that, I wish you a shalom, a salam, a namaste, and peace. See you soon. Also, check out my blog, mysoulcenter.org/blog. I have a blog on this very topic. Take care.